Hi guys, Grandpa P the Science G here. Today we're going to be doing an experiment with two gases, oxygen, O2, and carbon dioxide, CO2. They are two of the elements out of the 118 that make up the Earth and the atmosphere. Now, everything on the Earth and in the air is made up of elements, and they can be found in three different states: solid, very hard; liquid, and you know what a liquid is; and a gas, and you know what a gas is. So the three states of matter are solid, liquid, and gas. And the experiments today that we do will be working with the gaseous state of matter. Oxygen and carbon dioxide, both are gases. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to make oxygen first. In a test tube, and you see the test tube here, we are going to put some yeast in, and yeast is a compound that your mom uses to make bread and cookies and all that kind of stuff, or anything that has to rise like bread. And its chemical structure is carbon, 19 atoms, and we talked about how molecules are made of atoms, 19 atoms of carbon, hydrogen, 14 atoms of hydrogen, and 2 atoms of oxygen. And to put those all together, and they combine and they bond, the carbon, the hydrogen, the oxygen bonds to make yeast. Okay, anyway, we're going to put yeast in the bottom of the test tube. We're going to add hydrogen peroxide, which is just like water, but there's one more atom of hydrogen to make the compound H2O2. You know that water is H2O, meaning that water is H, hydrogen, 2 atoms of hydrogen combined with 1 atom of oxygen gives you water, H2O. But hydrogen peroxide is a little more than water. 1 more atom of hydrogen makes hydrogen peroxide. We're going to add the hydrogen peroxide in the test tube to the yeast, and what you'll see happen very quickly is a reaction. The hydrogen peroxide reacts with the yeast, and it boosts oxygen up into the test tube. It just rises right up into the test tube. I'm not going to let it escape, though. I'm going to put a cork inside that test tube to trap the oxygen, because we're going to test for oxygen afterwards. And one of the tests is to ignite or put a glowing stick or a glowing wood splint like this. I'm going to light this with a match, and I'm going to put that, and I'm going to blow it out like this, and you'll have a little glow on the end, and I'm going to stick that in the test tube with the oxygen, and what you'll see is the stick burst into flames. And the reason it's bursting into flames because one of the properties of oxygen is that it burns. It's combustible, and it's very combustible. People that use oxygen to breathe, they have to be very careful. They can't smoke or light a match near it because it could explode, and it's very, very combustible. Now, in the other test tube, we're going to make carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is made by using baking soda, which is sodium, Na, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. 3 atoms of oxygen to 1 atom of carbon and 1 atom of hydrogen and 1 atom of sodium. Now, sodium is another element found in the earth. So, what I'm going to do, put that baking soda in the bottom of the test tube. I'm going to add vinegar. And you can see that vinegar is made up of different elements also. Carbon, hydrogen, and a combination that's kind of screwy. But it's a chemical structure that has bonded, and it makes vinegar. Anyway, so I'm going to add the vinegar to the test tube, and a gas will be produced by the reaction of the vinegar with the baking soda, and that gas is carbon dioxide. And I'm going to also trap the carbon dioxide in that test tube by corking the top, just like I corked the test tube with the oxygen. Now, one of the properties of carbon dioxide is that it does not burn. It is not combustible. So, if I take this glowing wood splint and I leave it lit, and I stick it in the test tube with the carbon dioxide in it, what do you think will happen to the burning wood splint? If you guessed it will go out, you're absolutely right, because nothing burns in carbon dioxide. One of the properties of this element, or this compound, carbon dioxide, is that it is not combustible. Things will not burn in it, and that's why they use it inside fire extinguishers to put out fires, because nothing can burn in the presence of carbon dioxide. So those are the two gases that were going to be made, and the test for them is with the burning wood splint. So we talked about the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas, and we're going to be working with two gases today, oxygen and carbon dioxide. And remember that oxygen is an element all by itself. O2, two atoms of oxygen make one molecule of oxygen. But this, as you can see, there's two different elements that make this compound: carbon, the C, and oxygen, the O2. Two atoms of oxygen and one atom of carbon make one molecule of carbon dioxide. Okay, let's go over to my work table, and I'll see if I can get this in position so that you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, I gotta be very careful on camera. My phone doesn't fall off here. Let's bend this down a little bit. There we go. All right. Now, usually I wear glasses, but I have my other glasses on today, which will be a protective shield for my glasses. Can you see me? Okay. Okay, so let's take this test tube and let's add yeast. We're going to make the oxygen first. And I got a little package of yeast, and your mother uses this in baking bread. And you have to get yeast that's fresh. I tried using, when I was at the classroom teacher, I tried using yeast a few times, and it didn't make oxygen. It didn't work very well. And I found out later it was old yeast, and it wasn't very active. So we're going to add a little yeast to this. As you can see, I've got yeast in there. Maybe I need it just a little more. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to add my vinegar right here. No, I'm sorry. That's for the carbon dioxide. We're going to use hydrogen peroxide here. Forgot about that. And I'm just going to add a little bit in the beaker here. See, it's called hydrogen peroxide. You can find it at the pharmacy. Hydrogen peroxide has an extra atom of hydrogen, and it's a little more acidic than water, and it is used in cleaning out wounds. Like if you get cut, you can use hydrogen peroxide because of its cleansing property. It can clean out a wound. Okay, so I'm going to add the hydrogen peroxide now to the yeast. And as you can see, it's, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's effervescing. And I'm going to put the top on it. And I'm going to take now the carbon dioxide, or the, make carbon dioxide. And let's see, I need the vinegar. I'll put a little bit of vinegar in there. In this beaker here. Okay, we're going to have put baking soda in this one. Here's my scoop. Okay. All right. And I'm going to add the vinegar. As you can see, it's overflowing here. But I'm going to capture the carbon dioxide. Okay. So now I have oxygen in here, and I'm going to light a wood splint. Let's get a good one here. Get this burning pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to blow this out, but it'll still have a kind of a red ember in it, and I'm going to put it inside the oxygen and see what happens. You see that? That means we did make oxygen, and you can see how combustible oxygen was because the wood splint burst back into flames. And here now I still have the flame. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open up this one with the carbon dioxide, and I'm going to put the wood flame in there, this wood splint with the flame, and it's going to immediately go out. Watch. See that? Fire's gone. Okay. So we proved that carbon dioxide, one of the properties of it is it puts out a flame. And we also saw with the oxygen that when we put the glowing wood splint in there, it burst into flames because oxygen is very combustible, very flammable. Okay. All right. I guess that's it for today. Carbon dioxide and oxygen and the properties. Oxygen burns and carbon dioxide puts out burn. And I'm going to show you, I think I got a fire extinguisher here. This is a fire extinguisher, and I have this in the house just in case there's a fire, and this has carbon dioxide in it. You shake it up, and you really don't have to shake it up, but I do because it's been sitting here for quite a few years. I've never used it, fortunately, because I've never had a fire, but you pull out this little red pin, and then you just push down on the handle here, and the carbon dioxide shoots out of the fire extinguisher and puts out a fire. So these are always good to have in your house because just in case you have a fire, you can grab the fire extinguisher, pull out the little red band there, and push the handle down, and you can get carbon dioxide to put out a fire. Good to have near the kitchen because sometimes you have kitchen fires and the grease catches on fire. A lot of people make the mistake of throwing water on it, and water doesn't put out the fire like carbon dioxide does. And it can splatter and spread the fire. So it's safer to use a fire extinguisher. And what's inside the fire extinguisher? Carbon dioxide, okay? Because one of its properties is that it does put out fires. Okay, Grandpa P, the Science G, signing out. Roger and out.